Good day, ladies and gentlemen. This is Watson Michael from Ceylon Institute of English and Leadership. And today, I have an interesting guest all the way from the UK, Clare Norman, who is an author and master certified coach with the International Coaching Federation, a mentor coach, and a certified coach supervisor. Also, she has received multiple awards for groundbreaking leadership development. For over 2.5 decades, Claire has focused on maximizing individual, team, and organization effectiveness. Claire, welcome. How are you doing today?
Thank you so much for hosting me. I am doing very well, thank you. And I love that high energy introduction.
Great to have you. Great. So, what was the reason for you to name the book Cultivating Coachability? How to leverage coaching readiness so thinkers can optimize value?
So, as you said in that introduction, I've been coaching for 24 years. And over that time, I've noticed that it doesn't matter how good a coach I am if the person I'm working with is not coaching ready. And so this book is about coaching readiness and coachability. And in order for a thinker, as I call them, to glean the most value from the coaching. So if somebody comes to coaching imagining that I am going to sprinkle pixie dust all over them or wave my magic wand, then they are going to be very disappointed, because that's not what coaching does or is. And it takes a lot of hard work from them to think for themselves, to tap into their own wisdom, not just their head wisdom, but their whole body wisdom as well. And so a coach's job is to cultivate that coachability. But if the individual is not coaching ready in the first place, no amount of cultivating coachability is going to actually help the individual to make the progress that they want to make. So, although it's called Cultivating Coachability, actually the first stop is coaching readiness. And so much of the book focuses on making sure that the people we work with as coaches are coaching ready, that coaching is the right thing for them versus some other intervention, that this is the right time, that they've got the right support network around them. Those kinds of things help us to assess coaching readiness.
Wow, interesting. Great. So, we are living in a different world today where technology is evolving and generations are quite different. What do you think that most coaches are lacking?
It's a good question, because as I said, we in this arena of coaching readiness and coachability, what I think we're lacking as coaches is the agency to say no to people who are not coaching ready, or to help a person to understand what it means to be coaching ready, or to help a coaching custodian. So that's the person inside of an organization who's responsible for the setup and success of a coaching program in their organization. We as coaches can support those coaching custodians to put in place processes to assess for coaching readiness, so that when we meet the person who is deemed coaching ready, we know that screening has already happened. And so when we first meet them, our role is to have a compatibility call, not to check for coaching readiness, but to check that we are compatible to work together. Is my style of support the kind of support that this person needs for their learning style, for example? Is my style of challenge going to be just enough to get them out of their comfort zone, but not so much that it stresses them out? Do we have any conflicts of interest? Those kinds of things should happen in a compatibility call, which historically has been called a chemistry call, which I really don't like at all, that name. And historically, it has tried to cover 27 different things in about a 45-minute meeting, and covering all of those very transactionally. So when you ask what coaches are missing, I think they are missing the confidence, maybe, or the courage, or the wherewithal to stand up for coaching readiness. Because the problem is, if we don't as coaches, then what will happen is when we start to work with somebody who is not coaching ready, we might well start to doubt ourselves and our coaching competency. And as soon as we start to doubt ourselves, and what's the breakthrough question that I could be asking here to help this person to make some kind of transformation, or what am I missing here, or what would other coaches do here? If I start to doubt myself as a coach, then that puts us in a kind of a rocky place, because actually it's not all about me. It is about how the thinker shows up to coaching. How coaching ready were they in the first place? So that's a roundabout way of answering your question about what I think coaches are missing, and it doesn't quite get to the element of your question about technology and generational changes, but that's one of the pieces that I think coaches are missing, is the agency to stand up for or to demand coaching readiness before they start working with people.
Interesting. Okay. So, can you elaborate about a preferred chapter in your book?
Yeah, so let's take the one about compatibility calls. So, as I said, these calls should be to help both coach and thinker to decide whether they are a good enough fit to work together. So it doesn't have to, it's not like a dating game. It's not like figuring out whether you have this chemistry to work together, but it's more about, can you build a working relationship together? And so those questions I mentioned about the support, the challenge, the conflicts of interest, those are all really important for that meeting. But historically, what was called the chemistry meeting tried to cover too much, because the coaching custodians in an organization, assuming it's organizational coaching, have not necessarily done the setup well. So I was talking to a coach yesterday in supervision who was talking about something not having gone right in a session with an individual that she just started working with. And we realized very quickly that this person who she had been put together with was not coaching ready. They did not want coaching. They were not prepared for the coaching. They did not really understand what coaching was all about. So there's another favorite chapter, is about how do we spot the signs and signals that a person is coaching ready or is not coaching ready. And sometimes coaching isn't the right answer. So it seems to be that coaching is a bit de rigueur at the moment. It's kind of the thing that is flung at every developmental need, when actually coaching isn't appropriate for every developmental need. It might be that therapy is more appropriate. It might be that training is more appropriate. I know you're a trainer yourself. It might be that an on-the-job project with feedback from the line manager might be more appropriate for the presenting issue. And so I have another whole chapter which is about how to spot the signs and signals that a person is coaching ready, and that whatever they want to work on is appropriate for coaching.
Wow, okay, interesting. And of course, that's true. I mean, sometimes everybody like cannot be coached, right? Depending on the background. Yeah. Okay. So
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say that people are uncoachable. It's just whether they are ready for coaching. Do they know what they're signing up for in the first place? Do they know how different it is from other modalities of development? Do they know what it's going to take from them, from their side, that they're not going to be spoon-fed? It's not the same as teaching, telling, advising, mentoring. So all of that needs to be set up really well beforehand, such that an individual knows what it is that they're signing up for.
Absolutely. It's not an easy thing, but it's a challenge. Good. So, what was one of the most challenging things that you ever faced in your coaching career, and how did you overcome it?
Well, plenty.
Okay.
But if I were to take one that was related to this topic of coaching readiness and coachability, several times I have started to work with a person who my gut told me there's something that they're not really coaching ready. I don't think I quite knew that it was coaching readiness that my gut was telling me about, but I didn't listen to my gut. So, for example, one HR manager came to me one time saying that she wanted to give coaching to a new team leader because he needed more maturity, as she described it, and needed to understand how to lead a team. Well, I already had little radar noises going on in my head, but I didn't listen to them. And what turned out, or how it turned out, was that really he needed training on how to lead a team, because nobody had ever put anything in place for him around how to delegate, how to give feedback, how to communicate well, how to run meetings. And so he kept trying to hook me in to teaching him. And that's not the work of a coach. The work of a coach is to help an individual to figure out, once they know how to delegate, how do they do it in their style? How do they adapt what they learned in the training to become the leader they want to be? So if I'd have listened to my gut, I would likely have said, actually, I think this individual could do with some training first, then let's come back to coaching once he knows how to delegate, how to give feedback, how to communicate, etc., etc. So yes, that's one example. That's kind of one example of many. There have been quite a few like that got me really thinking about this idea of coaching readiness. So having faced quite a few of those, I was like, okay, I need to do something about this to make sure I'm not putting myself in this position again, but also I wanted to help other coaches to learn from what I had realized in those instances.
So now being a coach isn't easy. It's about getting comfortable being uncomfortable. But there are boundaries as well. What are some key things to keep in mind about coaching?
That is such a big question. There are so many key things. But what said there, being comfortable with being uncomfortable is such a big one that takes quite a long time to learn, actually. Because we're so used in our society, we're so used to knowing how to do things, knowing how to fix things, being the solution giver. And in coaching, that's not who we are. We are there to sit with the discomfort of not knowing. For the thinker to also sit with that not knowing in a way that slowly they build their capacity to tap into inner wisdom and their knowing. And this might scare some people off coaching if I say it's all about being with the not knowing, and they're like, what are you on about? Because some people do come into coaching, and some coaches come into coaching with a performance mindset. How to do more, how to achieve more, how to get more done. And really the coaching I love to do these days is how to be more of who you are. So how to become this person you've always wanted to become. What are you called to be in and to the world? Rather than trying to cram more stuff into life, which doesn't necessarily bring us joy. So where my head and heart are going now is towards love in coaching. How can we help individuals to tap into what they love, what they're moved by, what brings them joy. And it feels like, I don't know, post-pandemic, it feels like that is the way that some of us in the world are going, to try to overcome some of the darkness that we are facing in the world, and some of the difficult characters who are presenting themselves in the world, shall we say. And so how can we each find a sense of spiritual growth in ourselves, such that we can bring more love into the world, bring more care into the world. So I think there's this gradual shift in the way coaches are being trained, but also in the kind of work that coaches are doing, moving away from this performance coaching side of things, doing more, having more, achieving more, growth, capitalist, kind of mindset, more towards how can we support each other and still have a world that we all want to live in.
Yeah. Interesting. Can you summarize this book in one sentence?
Well, the thing that I write on the inside cover whenever anybody asks me for, a signed copy is claim your agency. So that's a message to coaches. That is what I'm saying in the book, to claim their agency around coaching readiness and coachability. So that would be one sentence: claim your agency.
Great. It is a unique book indeed. Okay. And it will be a very interesting one for many people out there to read. Great. So, any final message, Claire, you would like to give to our viewers and listeners who seek motivation?
I would say this book is aimed at coaches. So if it's coaches who are listening, brilliant, buy the book. It's also aimed at coaching custodians, so people in the organizations who are responsible for coaching. So buy the book. Of course, I would say that, wouldn't I? But my kind of final wrap up words would be something around, well, this is to coaches: who you are is how you coach.
All right. So, Claire, thank you very much for taking time and doing this podcast with us.
You are so very welcome.